Copy. Dagger 1-5 is inbound.
Holy shit.
What?
They got a Ford Raptor.
No shit.
I guess that's where all my aid money's going.
All right, I'm gonna put one through the engine block. You ready? What?
Holy shit.
What?
You smoked the driver.
50.
50. The other guy's trying to run.
Yeah, I see him.
Wait. It's an anti-material rifle.
Oh, good call.
Just shoot the zipper.
Yeah. Got it.
Fire. Fire.
As a civilian, you should own a 50 cal. Now, there are a multitude of reasons why, but the main reason is its anti-materiel capabilities. When you look at something like the M107A1, you may think to yourself, man, this is a 50 cal sniper rifle. Wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. This is actually an anti-materiel rifle. What that means is it's meant for vehicles, light armor, generators, communications towers, communications equipment. It's primarily equipment. Now, that being said, soldiers do have equipment on them, so it's still good to same for a zipper or something. But in any case, if you're actually looking to be able to fight a military of any type or anyone, a 50 caliber is a very good choice to have. So today we'll be going over the M107A1 and why I think it's one of the most compelling civilian choices for an anti-materiel rifle. We'll be showing the capabilities and much more today on Garand, the M107A1 and why you should own a 50 cal. Man, this 50 is really cool, but it'd be cooler if you had an optic on it. Now, we do, of course, but if you're looking for an optic, our biggest sponsor is Primary Arms. You have to give them all the love. In fact, all their optics are actually made by dwarves in these hills and mountains right here. Fun fact. So go and give them an email, say, hey, how much do you... Don't do that. Give them an email, say, hey, we love you guys, Garand says, to ask for a recommendation on an optic. See what they tell you. They also have the HTX1, one of our favorite pistol optics, and all USA made. Guys, of course, if you're looking for a rifle, we cannot recommend enough Bravo Company USA BCM. We are huge fans of BCM, and we have been for a long time. They're a great balance of performance and cost, probably among the best out there right now. We recommend them wholeheartedly, and besides that, BCM is freaking base as hell. Now, if you're looking for a gaming PC, you want to play at 320 frames per second on Battlefield 6 with DLSS 5, where everything looks like AI slop, well, Zydex has you taken care of because they make the coolest gaming computers ever, and you'll still get smoked by a 14-year-old drinking, some type of white monster or something like that, but you'll have a good time, and their owner is a huge gun advocate, so we cannot recommend them enough. Finally, guys, all ammunition is provided for by Last Shot Arizona. Now, they're not a bulk ammunition supplier, but they supply high-quality defensive and war ammo. We always recommend having at least 13 mags of that war ammo. They can get it to you. 70 grain TSX, all that good stuff. Go and check them out. Finally, guys, all that being said, well, talk is cheap, and 50 cal is a little bit expensive, but very, very worth it. And I hear the sound of freedom out there. Life's a good day. Now, right here, we have the M107A1. Now, 50 BMG, a fairly large round, as you can see right here. These are about the smallest you can get round-wise while still carrying a payload. What this means is that these slugs themselves are actually large enough to carry ordnance. That's why you have really great 50 cal rounds like Raufoss, which is an armor-piercing incendiary explosive round. Very effective against vehicles. What we're trying to say is that 50 cal is a very, very multi-faceted round. It can be put into a variety of roles, and it's very good at many things. Now, with the M107A1, this is not the most accurate gun in the world, you know, with your typical M33 ball that you get for a 50 cal machine gun, with the M107, you're typically looking at about a 3 to 5 minute gun. With better loaded ammo, you can get anywhere from 1 to 3, depending on the type of ammunition. But really the answer is to be able to hand load it. Now, in addition to that, the M107A1 is actually a recoil operated firearm. There's no gas system here. Now, there are a variety of things to help reduce that recoil, from the hydraulic buffer to the actual barrel, as you can see, traveling with the bolt at the beginning of recoil. But more importantly, you have the muzzle brake at the end. When we talked with some very well-connected Barrett people who have a lot of time in the M107A1, primarily end users, the thing we always hear is it takes about 50 rounds to break in the rifle and about 100 rounds to break in the shooter. What that means is you do have a lot of overpressure from this brake, which kills much of the recoil, but it can be a little disconcerting in the first, 50 to 100 rounds you're firing it. You'll see it today. I fired the M107 quite a bit already, but it's still a very cool gun. There's a lot of things that are different compared to your traditional precision long rifles. So with all that being said, let's get into it and let's, look at this beautiful, beautiful valley we have right here. This is a hard life. So first thing we're gonna talk about is actually getting behind the gun right here. This is actually gonna be old Sawyer's first time hearing this thing unsuppressed. What about you, Preston? You heard this thing unsuppressed before?
Not a Barrett, just M2s.
Oh boy, what a treat. So you want to get it behind it like a push-up position. Obviously, being out in nature, very rarely you're going to find a flat area. So you want to get behind the gun as much as possible. You want to get your body straight behind it. So you're going to get into a push-up position right behind it, set yourself down, and you actually want to push into the bipod. So if you notice, I'm pushing into the bipod. In addition to that, my body's straight behind it, and my feet are flat to give me more resistance as it's pushing my body back. A good body position is going to be very important for follow-up shots with the 50. If you're engaging a vehicle, you want to be able to have a good body position. So from there, we have the gun loaded, and all we have is a little safety right here. So right here, we're going to be shooting at about 700 yards, which is really not that much for the 50. And you guys will see the power behind it. Fire. How was that, boys?
Dude, when you said it takes 100 shots to break in the shooter, I see what you mean. This is the first time I think I've flinched ever with you shooting.
Yeah, it's a little bit different compared to most rifles. It's really not that bad though. From a shooter's position, not bad at all. So let's go ahead and let's give some follow-up shots here. Let's see what my repeatability is like with this guy. Nice. So it's important to have a spotter, especially with the 50. For the most part, with the 50 cal, due to all the concussion that you're getting, you're not really visibly watching the trace of your bullet. With certain long-range rounds, you can definitely watch that actual round travel through your scope. But due to the amount of movement that you get on the Barrett Light 50, not really so much. So having a spotter with you is always going to be very important. You want the spotter, if possible, directly behind you, or no joke, you can actually have them lie on top of you with the spotting scope on your shoulder. That's actually a technique. It looks hella gay, but I mean, would you classify the Army as pretty gay?
It's all a little bit gay.
Everything's a little bit gay in the military. It's just a bunch of dudes. But, so it's important to have that spotter. But you can see those follow-up shots are very easy with the 50. Right now we're using the RAUG ammo, which is just foreign-made goodness. So a big thank you to them. Now, we're gonna go ahead and shoot here, but before we do, let's go ahead and let's get Preston behind it. Preston, have you shot a 50 much?
No.
Awesome. So you understand what we're looking at. So let's get Preston behind it, get in that push-up position. Preston's a thick boy. He's going to have no problems. You know what cracks me up? Every Army guy has this exact tear in their pants. What is it with you guys? Like, just
mechanized.
That'll do it.
Any vehicle, you're going to rip your pants.
So Preston's already been briefed up on this. He's got a shoulder right into there. He's loading into the bipod. His entire body's behind it. And with his opposite hand, there's actually a hand stop at the back of the stock on the Barrett to help him stay stable. So he's good. He has a few rounds there. I found right now that you're about 3 ticks on the left, so you're gonna be aiming slightly right on it. Great. Looking through the optic. just off left edge. Impact. Cool. She's dry. We got another mag for you right there, buddy. I love the 50 when it fires because it's like you have that delay before it just shucks that cannon round out. There's nothing like firing a 50. Impact. 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 Good shots, buddy. Excellent. Go ahead and safety up. So as you can see, Preston, with not a whole lot of time behind a 50, really is not having any trouble making good, repeated follow-up shots because the gun's actually doing a lot for you. How did it feel to shoot with the brake, with everything?
Got a little dirt in my mouth.
Yeah.
Next to the brake. Really not bad though. It's almost like more intimidating when you're standing off to the side because of the brake.
Yes.
But once you get behind it, you don't feel the concussion, and that brake actually does a lot of good work taking that recoil.
All you do get is you get that kind of slight drop in air pressure in your ears. Do you feel it every time you fire?
Yeah.
It's not loud, it's just you can feel it. Even through your ear pro, it kind of pulls that air out of you just with how powerful that brake is. So let's take a quick look at the brake right here. Go ahead and render this guy safe for a second. All right, gun's safe now. So taking a look at the brake, as you can see, those ports are angled slightly to the rear. So in going through the Barrett course where they actually teach long range, a thing that's been commonly said is that the reason you want to be directly behind the gun is because it's recoil operated, you actually do have some fairly, a good amount of moving parts here. But if your body isn't directly in line with it, based on how that recoil is going back in your body, you can kind of torque the gun a little bit, and it can make repeatability between shots kind of difficult. So getting behind it's going to be important. Now, another thing that you're probably going to notice, if you come over right over here and take a look at the ground, you can see all this grass is bent and bowed and blown back on both sides from the brake. So this is a problem, obviously, for concealability. The Barrett creates a pretty good dust cloud whenever it fires. It's going to kick up debris. It sucks for the guys near you, so make sure you clear those guys out or they're aware of it. And it sucks for you. So in an urban situation or out here, what guys have done is they've taken their canteens, they've wet the ground, they've put down pads to help kind of mitigate some of that. In addition, with the M107A1, it was actually made for suppressor use. And we had previously used some suppressors on it, but in general, I would recommend sticking with the Barrett QDL, which is made for it. Now, the Barrett QDL doesn't make it very quiet, but it reduces that flash and, more importantly, all that concussive force you get on the ground. So if you really need to kind of mitigate some of that signature, that Barrett suppressor is going to be good. Depending on how you have it set up, it might increase recoil a teeny bit due to the lack of brake. If you keep the brake on that suppressor, then it will, still kind of kick out some of that dust. So it's always going to be a trade-off. Again, this is an anti-materiel rifle. You're going to be firing at a good distance, so understand what you're dealing with and kind of adjust from there. But as you can see, these shots at 700 really not a problem. Let's go ahead, let's shoot at 1,000 now, or a little past 1,000, and you can see just how easy it is. When you were looking through the camera, you probably saw just how straight and true those rounds fly. 50 is really not that affected by anything. 50 just kind of doesn't care, including when it's going through your car. Okay, we're gonna be shooting at a little past 1,000 right here. So it should be a good time. Now, as a quick note, why do I have a red dot on this? Well, CQB, obviously, just kidding. It's honestly so you can spot the target if it's far out, because it's kind of hard to find it through magnification sometimes. And then you drop from the red dot in your optic and you're right on the target, as a quick note. So, got it on the target, and I'm right there. Makes life pretty easy. High.
Half target high.
Well, it's not meant to shoot people, but as you can see, very, 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 very capable of doing so. Preston, you ready to do this, buddy? This is a reduced sized C, by the way. So it really does speak to the capabilities of the M107A1 with good ammunition. This isn't even specifically precision ammunition, but even still, it's doing quite good. So let's get Preston on the gun. All right, Preston, spotter up, buddy. Impact. 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 Keep moving. Impact. Impact. Good shooting, buddy. Safety up.
God damn.
You know, you might want to talk shit on the National Guard, but they can shoot. These boys can shoot.
I also just work on a ranch where I can shoot every day, so.
Yeah, that's very true. Fair enough. How'd that feel, buddy?
Great. Super easy.
Really, really easy. On these longer shots, what's nice is that the gun has a tendency to settle before you see the round impact. So these rounds are traveling between 27 to 2,800 feet per second. So at about 1,000, about 800 plus, your gun settles. So I'm actually able to watch the splash pretty easily. So I can actually, to some extent, call my own kind of impact. Were you able to do that with that guy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of cool shooting a gun this heavy because, I've been raised on a lot of FUD guns, like a lot of 6-pound hunting rifles. When you're shooting a 35 or 40-pound gun, out at that distance, it's so easy to hold it on a target. There's no, it doesn't move.
Again, the gun really does do most of the work for you. So long as you're loaded into that bipod, even when we have the legs extended, which isn't the best kind of setup that you want to do for this right now, it's still a very stable platform. So just smoking these targets, no problem. Let's go ahead. We're going to shoot at that really close target so you can see the insane power that it will deliver. By close, that guy's at about 550. To see what it's going to do to it. It's going to probably knock some paint off for sure. Let's give it a shot. We got our 10-round box magazine right here. So it's much like an AK, where it locks onto a little hinge at the front, and then you lock into place. Very stable for the amount of recoil that you're getting on this guy. Okay, I'm going to aim just under it here, Preston. Okay. Just under. Just under? Yeah. Cool. What happened to that target?
Oh, he's hurting down there.
Did it knock any paint off that guy?
Yeah.
Let's hit it again. Like just over?
Over right shoulder.
Copy. Imagine hitting a guy at like 550 with this thing. A lot of GWAT vets are like, actually, I can. Impact. Impact. Just under. Impact.
Gun safety up.
Excellent. Shooting it closer is always a little bit more of a problem because the gun's still not quite settling by the time that round's reaching the target. So you really do see a lot of the kind of positive aspects of the Barrett, certainly firing farther than 800. Did you feel that with like all the movement and dust shooting close?
Yeah. Yeah.
Men of many words right here. It's a very interesting gun. So we've done a little bit of shooting at this point out to about 1100. We're going to shoot at about 1250, hit some material targets right here, and kind of see what that looks like. It might sound pretty interesting too, as these strike vehicles, and that would be a good little fun little treat for you guys. So let's go ahead and get this guy dialed and do a little shooting. Okay, now we're gonna feed what the Barrett actually wants, which is vehicles. It's very hungry for vehicles. We're gonna give it some vehicles. So listen to the impacts. It should be fairly interesting.
Rudder up.
How fun. Let's go see what those impacts look like, guys.
Can I just make one note of the sound? It's so cool. You can hear the bullet as it travels. You can see that. You can hear the sound like echo off this like through this valley, then echo through that, and then you can hear it finally settle in like there before the impact. It's so cool.
Science. It's freaking weird.
Science.
All right, so we have a couple impacts here. Well, many impacts. A lot of them went straight through. So we got 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we had a couple through here. Here's a fun one. Look at this one. It entered right here. There's an exit. Come look at it through this perspective right over here. You can see all the fuzz coming out.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Okay. Now some of these splintered, so I'm not sure if it's the same one, but it then exited out through the seat right here along with a shit ton of shrapnel, went through our box, and then entered through the headrest and just would have killed whoever was there.
Oh.
So that was a good time. And then you see some of the rounds also went through that seat right there. Oh, sorry. And then, yeah, very, very devastating. How wonderful. Next up, we're going to mount up a suppressor in this guy, and we're actually going to shoot at you so you can hear the lovely sound of a suppressed Barrett and bullets, well, 50 cal bullets zipping by your little tiny smart heads. How fun. Now, if you're in the military, you've probably done this, but shoulder fire in the Barrett, really not too bad. Neat. Well, gentlemen, the Barrett M107A1 can easily reach out to about 2,000, well past a mile, but we've shown you a lot of the capabilities today. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head to the black screen, break this gun down, show you taking it apart, doing everything, and hope you guys are going to really enjoy that portion because I love seeing the internal mechanics of a gun, personally, but I'm also autistic.
So we've done a lot of shooting. Now we're going to do a lot of talking as we delve into the 107A1 anti-materiel rifle. And once again, this is not a sniper rifle. What does that mean? Well, it was primarily meant to target materiel, whether it be vehicles, generators, other instruments of war that are typically used. And it's very good at that. Now, there are many limitations to it, but before we get into it, let's see what we always do with Jerv, which is our full disclosure.com. We really have to thank these guys a ton. They have been amazing in providing this, and that allows us to be completely separate from the manufacturer. Now, obviously, we have done stuff with Barrett in the past, and we have talked to their engineers and many employees when it comes to the M107A1, and more importantly, the M82A1. But there's no exchange of anything from Barrett when it comes to guns.com. They absolutely rocked, so you have to love them and tell them that, email them if you love guns. So let's go ahead and let's get into this. So first off, we have about a 30-pound anti-materiel rifle, but it adds a lot of capability. Now, this is a 50 BMG that is recoil operated. So recoil operation means there's no gas system. Think of it much in the way of, many different pistols or something of that effect. Imagine like a giant pistol, not quite. But it's very interesting. There's a lot of working parts when it comes to the M107A1. At this point, you've seen a lot of it. You've seen a lot of the mechanisms. So let's delve into it. Now, we're going to do what the Navy loves, which is going to be going tip to butt here. So we're going to be starting at the tip right here. So we do have the muzzle brake right here. Now, you might know the very classic, arrowhead muzzle brake of the M82, the original Barrett 50. And in fact, before we get into this, it might be important to note a little bit of history. Basically, Mr. Barrett was photographing, he was a professional photographer, he was photographing river roads coming by, had twin 50 cals on. He thought to himself, well, 50 BMG is a very cool round. What if a rifle fired that? And we have the M82 off that. There's a lot in between there. We're not here to really get into the history other than to say that the militaries of the world very quickly realized in the early 90s how important and how capable an anti-materiel rifle such as the M82 was. Now, there have been multiple updates since then, which has led us to the M82A1 and more recently to the M107A1. There are several key differences which we will go over, but to start off with, probably one of the most notable differences is going to be the iconic brake, which changed from that arrowhead to what we have right here, and there's a very good reason for that change. Now, the biggest reason is that the M107A1 was actually designed and improved upon from the earlier models, such as the M107, which was adopted within the United States military, so that it could easily use a suppressor. Several things were done to allow that usage of a suppressor. Now, the suppressor typically recommended is the Barrett QDL. This is one I'm a big fan of. Other 50 cal suppressors have had multiple issues, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, but that Barrett QDL interfaces directly with this muzzle device so that you can have signature reduction. How quiet is a 50 cal suppressor? We've actually done a video on it, not terribly quiet, but it does reduce that signature, which is dust kicked up, flash, a little bit of sound, makes it harder to see where the shooter is firing. Well, not see, but hear where that shooter is firing from. Now, one good thing about this brake is that when you take a 50 cal and you fire it from the shoulder, that's a lot of energy going back into your shoulder. Now, the Barrett M107A1, or the Barrett M82 in general, the light Barrett Light 50 as it's like to be called, and it's light because, well, it's man portable, is it has about 3 main different mechanisms for, well, a few more than that, for reducing recoil. We have the brake, we have a reciprocating barrel, we have weight, and of course we have a hydraulic buffer. Let's talk about all of those. So first off with the brake, one thing that you'll notice with the brake is how all those vents themselves are actually angled back. So as that slug is exiting through the muzzle device, this is actually going to push the rifle forward as you are firing it. This is one way that the Barrett 50 helps mitigate that recoil. It actually helps pull that rifle away from you as it fires. This is why the brake is so effective. Now, if you've ever fired a 50 without a brake, you know it's a little bit stout. This allows your standard military members to fire multiple rounds, because obviously we're men, we can easily, handle a little 50 to the shoulder as a treat, but having a brake and being able to somewhat stabilize that platform makes it a lot easier. Now, in addition to Barrett engineers, we also talked to many active duty and former retired service members with a lot of experience in the M107A1, me included. Not that I talk to myself, I do. My mom said it was a sign of intelligence. I don't think it is. But when it comes to the brake, there's a couple problems. Obviously, you're going to kick up a lot of dust where you are. In urban settings, in any setting, this can be a problem with giving away your position. So a couple things that people have done to mitigate this. They put mats under the front of the brakes. They've also taken canteens, they've wetted down the ground to help mitigate that blast. There's a lot of different ways. Of course, the biggest thing is going to be finding a good area to set up where you have a less chance of blowing up debris and dust. This isn't always a consideration or something that you can plan for in combat, but if possible, you can. Now, obviously, if you really want to remove that signature, using the Barrett QDL is going to help quite a bit. Now, don't fire the QDL without your pro, it's very, very loud. In addition to that, you can see in the photo we have right here, the QDL actually does have a brake on it. That can be removed and reconfigured if you don't mind a little bit extra recoil, because that will of course kick up a little bit of dust still. But the suppressor for the Barrett is very good. Now, the issue we've had with other 50 cal suppressors, and I've used quite a bit at this point, is that there's a definite tendency of other suppressors where they overgas the system. Now, the M107 is redesigned to make sure that it can work well with suppressors, but they did that with several different things, including changing the cam track angle and length on the bolt itself. But with these suppressors that don't flow as well as a QDL, you're massively increasing the recoil as well as increasing the unlock speed or the timing of the rifle itself, since it is a recoil operated weapon. This can cause significant accuracy issues, etc. When it comes to a 50 cal suppressor, make sure you have one that is directly designed for the M107A1, and that has been fairly vetted and tested when it comes to long range performance. The only one that I'm very much so tracking at this point would be the Barrett QDL. Your mileage may vary. But anyhow, the muzzle brake, absolutely wonderful and highly recommended to keep it on your gun. It's a vital part of timing the weapon. Now, from here, we have the barrel. Now, there are several different barrels, well, mainly 2 different barrels or 2 different variants of the M107A1 that you can get. Those being the 29-inch barrel, which we have right here, and then, of course, a CQC barrel, which is 20 inches. We're gonna say get the 29-inch barrel. If you are carrying and lugging around a 50, well, you want all that length to get more velocity out of the 50 cal round. The shorter one, it made some sense in the global war on terror if you're hopping out of helicopters all day and stuff. But for the most part, most people are carrying around or lugging around a 50 or taking it to an overwatch position or something like that, or on a base or defending your house, whatever that might be. And so it's not something that's really exactly carried around, put together, but rather broken down. When it's broken down, that barrel actually recesses into the receiver, like you can see right here. So it's not so much an issue for that barrel length for me. Keep that barrel long. Obviously, the barrel is indeed fluted. This helps with weight reduction as well as heat, allows the heat to come off of the barrel a little bit more quickly compared to just a round barrel. That helps quite a bit. This is already a 30-pound rifle. From there, this is a high-quality barrel. This is 4150. You have chrome bore and chamber when it comes to this particular barrel. On the M82A1, it's actually just the chamber and not the bore. There's some talks about which is better. Obviously, chrome lining the bore can affect accuracy, but again, it's an anti-material rifle, and the accuracy loss isn't really that big of a deal based on what you're doing with this particular guy. A couple notes on it from many people who are extremely knowledgeable on the Barrett Light 50 would be barrel life. Depending on barrel life has a lot of factors that come into play. Ammunition type, how fast you're firing, ambient heat temperature, et cetera, et cetera. But generally you can expect about an 8,000 to about a 15,000 round barrel life on these particular guys. The only guys I know shooting out barrels are of course the US military, because they're the military, and then like Battlefield Vegas, because people are just renting these out all day. So that is pretty interesting. For the average person, you're probably not gonna be firing 8,000 rounds of 50 BMG, even in a Civil War. So I think you're gonna be good when it comes to barrel life. Another quick note is that the springs within it, the main spring, the barrel springs, those are actually so good that a lot of times those aren't even replaced when it comes to the Barrett Light 50. So they're extremely durable, but you can of course replace them. And that's coming from some very good sources, reliability wise. Now, the Barrett 50 comes in two main halves right here. We have the upper and the lower. It's actually a very simple weapon once we take it apart, but we're not gonna quite do that just yet. Now from here, we have the bipod. The bipod is awesome. So to unlock it and to put it into position, all you're going to do is pull the leg forward, and then you're gonna rotate it down to position. It can of course rotate back as well. There are some people who are gonna want a different bipod. I think that this one is quite good. So we'll rotate those both down to the point, and then you can of course extend it out. To push those legs back in, there's a little tab right here. You push on that, and then you can get those back into place. So it can be adjusted based off of height, etc. I typically keep these folded back when they're stowed in a pack or something like that. Otherwise, I keep them rotated forward. Your mileage may vary. This can of course be removed with this little pin right here, which you see all throughout the Barrett Light 50. Now, we do have provisions for mounting a sling right here. Most people don't sling up the Barrett 50. So anyhow, you actually do have backup sights on the M107A1. So we have our front sight right here, and then you have the rear sight right here. So, if your gun goes down, you can old school Call of Duty iron sight it for quicker on target acquisition. So that is an option. In practice, I haven't really seen a whole lot of people using them. I'm sure people do. Moving from here, we of course have this massive section right here that is housing the barrel spring, the barrel, the buffer, the barrel key, all that goodness. And we'll show you that in just a moment when we take this gun apart to show you how simple it is. But moving back from there, let's take a look at the optic for a moment, because when it comes to a 50, it's important that you have an optic that can handle it. So generally people are going to recommend good optics, Night Force, Vortex. We're using a tangent theta in a Cadex defense mount. These are a Canadian company that are very well versed in precision optics, and these work fine. The point is, get yourself a good optic. If you're spending $11,000 on a 50 BMG, don't spend $200 on a very cheap optic. It's probably not going to do you very well. So make sure you get not just a good optic, but also very good scope rings, because there's a lot of force coming back with this. From what I've seen, usually optics rated for about 1,000 Gs is going to be about good. I think it's about 500 Gs with each round fired on a 50. Somebody correct me if that's wrong, but that sounds about right if I have my math correct on my notes, which I believe I do. So have a good optic. Now from there, we do have a magazine right here. So the magazine holds 10 rounds. There were actually experimental 12 rounders that were used during Desert Storm, but these 10 rounders are extremely reliable. And as you can see, we have witness marks at the back so you can see how many rounds you have left. So box magazine has a front little hinge right here, so you kind of rock into place like an AK, and it works very well. Now we have our bolt right here. One of my favorite things is it's such a slow cycling weapon when you're cycling it and firing it. It's kind of fun to hear it. So I'm gonna go ahead and rack that bolt back right here. It is just a weird kind of slow chug. And then another thing you can look at right here. So I'm gonna push down on this. You can see the barrel springs engaging. Look a little pogo stick. So put some springs on that, put some little foot pads on there, and you're good to bounce around. So there's a lot going on when it comes to that. Obviously the barrel springs, this is going to be important before we get to the bolt here. So when the weapon fires, there's actually a point in time at which the barrel and the bolt carrier group are moving backwards together before that barrel hits the end of its travel, because the barrel obviously reciprocates, and then the bolt begins to unlock, ejects, etc., etc. So that is a large part of why some of that recoil is also mitigated in addition to the brake. So we have brake, we have the barrel actually reciprocating together with the bolt, and then once that bolt cycles all the way back, it hits the spring as well as a hydraulic buffer. All these things come into play to greatly reduce the amount of felt recoil that you have from 50, which allows you to shoot it rapidly, to engage vehicles, etc., etc. There are, of course, bolt action 50 BMGs that are far more accurate. However, when it comes to an anti-materiel rifle, you want to be able to rapidly engage vehicles and disable them. And nothing will quite disable a vehicle like a Raufoss armor-piercing incendiary explosive round through the engine block. What's that quote from Black Hawk Down? Single shot through the engine block.
Something like that.
Sure. I'm gonna shut up. That's that. Now, when it comes to the bolt, bolt's pretty cool. So first off, compared to the military ones are parkerized. On these, we have an MP3 coating, which is very easy to clean. We actually shot this like 200 rounds suppressed, and that came off no problem. So these are very, very good and well made. In addition to that, they made changes to the cam path track to make sure that it would work better with the suppressor as far as the timing of the weapon goes, and that all works well together. Now, from there, we of course got the trigger right here. So we have the safety right here. Just your standard safety, ain't no big deal. Now, one thing that I will say is that the trigger is fairly heavy, about 7 to 9 pounds. Now, this is actually important. It is a recoil-operated weapon. You really don't want to mess with the trigger too much. You get it too light, and due to the recoil forces, there's a very good chance you're going to double the rifle, which is when you unintentionally fire for a second shot. Keep that trigger where it should be. I know there's a lot of guys out there who want to change it up, but generally, when it comes to an anti-material rifle, yeah, don't mess with your trigger too much. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and let's ghost this trigger together. So we're gonna smoke around straight through my ceiling right here, take the safety off, put your finger right over mine. Let's go and ghost this guy. So let's go ahead and flip that safety off. Now, we have about 3 millimeters of play. We hit our first wall. We kind of start rolling into it. A lot of creep. There it is, about 8 pounds right there. All right, let's do that one more time. Okay, about 3 minutes of play. Creep, creep, creep. Nice wall, not too bad. Okay, we're gonna do it from the reset. Okay, letting off that trigger. Right there, pretty long. But off the reset, about 6 pounds. Not too bad at all. Make sure my mic is still in place. Not too bad. It is an anti-material rifle trigger. You're not getting a precision sniper rifle trigger at this point, as a quick note. Now, a lot of people will say, well, this can engage a man out to 1,000. You can. You might not always get a first round impact. This is about a 3 to 5 minute gun, depending on the ammunition used, but you certainly can. Now, you can get the accuracy a little bit better. So, obviously, one of the rounds a lot of people look at are the Hornady AMAX rounds that are loaded for precision. Those are 750 grains. Those do okay. A big problem that you can have with those is total length of the round itself. So both case and round sticking out are a little bit longer than what you typically want for semi-auto. AMAX wasn't specifically designed for semi-auto. However, they can work very good. Really depends on your gun. Test different ammo, see what works. Generally, what you'll hear is that hand loading is kind of the way to go. But several companies are coming out with some pretty cool accuracy related 50 BMG rounds, as a quick note. But with your typical M33 ball, which is what you see like on a Modus, the M2 50, those are about 5 to 7 minutes when it comes to being fired through this rifle. The military guys out there, I know you've de-linked that stuff and thrown it through this gun. It's not exactly the best, but it does work for anti-material purposes. So pistol grip is your A2 pistol grip. Moving back from there, we do have a cheek rest right here. One of the great things you have in the M107A1 with the hand stop, hand rest. You can of course attach a monopod at the back right here, which you see in much of our filming. And you get to the rubberized butt pad, which is very, very soft. So we've talked a lot about this gun. So one of the final things that we're going to do is go ahead and break it down and kind of show you guys what the inner workings look like, because well, they're simple. It's a very simple gun, deceivingly simple. So let's go ahead and change camera angles and take this apart. Okay, so I've got my little tether right here to my mic, and I've got my, these are so comfy, do not even judge right now, guys. You have no idea how good this is. So let's go ahead and let's take this rifle down. Very, very simple. So first off, we have 2 main takedown pins. Takedown pin at the mid and takedown pin at the rear. Now, you have these little buttons right here. You have to make sure you depress these in order to take it down. So Go ahead and put your finger through there, depress it, comes right out. Use that for later. Take it right here, depress it, pull it out. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to, well, let's pop up the mag first off. And we're going to push back lightly on the bolt carrier group, and then we're gonna lift off the upper receiver. So push that back right there, and then slowly lift that forward. There's a hinge at the front right here. So disengage it from the hinge, and we get into the inner working. So this is kind of generally what you're gonna do in order to clean it. You're going to then be able to put a bore snake through it, clean it out. From talking to various engineers and stuff who have worked very heavily on the M107A1, they recommend using a steel bore brush. It's chrome lined all the way through. They say it's not gonna hurt it. This is a larger weapon, so you know, do what you need to keep this clean. Definitely keep it lubed at the proper points, but don't over lube when it comes to this guy. Now, from here, several things you can do with the bolt. You can, of course, remove the bolt. Very easy. We have it right here. You can see, very interestingly on the bolt, that it's triangular. That's for strength, to ensure that this round, it can handle all the pressure off that round. And we have an upgraded ejector and extractor. From the lengthy time it spent in the global war and tear, various upgrades have been made. In here, we have the hydraulic buffer as well as the mainspring. And what's really cool is, so you can actually stow your bolt using the mid takedown pin right there and keep it from going anywhere. You can put that in your pack, etc. Good way to keep it retained. That way it doesn't fly around. Now, let's talk about the upper receiver right here, because we can actually make this good for storage and for moving. So you take the rear takedown pin, you see the springs attached to the barrel. This is what gives it that spring forward to make it work. And to undo this, you're just gonna pop that in so it's retained. And then you're gonna pull that spring out, and boom. Once you've done that, you can actually collapse this whole thing in for easy storage, put in a pack, etc. So it's very easy to, at this point, take this guy around. So as your basic takedown procedure, in addition to that, you have storage points for the pins at the rear of the stock right there, so that they're not gonna go anywhere while you're cleaning it, taking it down, transporting it. Lots of different ways to handle this, but this is generally how you're gonna be taking down your 50. So we've taken this down, shown you how it works on the inside. It is a fairly simple weapon when you look at it. It's kind of ridiculous, wouldn't you agree? But let's go ahead, let's get back onto our normal cameras and let's finish things up. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and finish up our thoughts on the M107A1. First off, as a civilian weapon, you should all own it. Very important when it comes to being able to engage light vehicles, lightly armored vehicles, or slightly more armored vehicles, including various different types of material that's both on the ground and in the air. They're very good at what they are. This is a, within your group of friends, I think somebody should have one. Highly recommended. So M107A1 is a definite buy. I understand the price makes it a little bit difficult, but this is a very effective, very well-proven weapon system, not just in the global war and terror, but even before and even past the global war and terror. You're gonna be seeing M107A1s and whatever model they upgrade to in the very, very near future. Absolutely pleasant to fire, especially for a 50 BMG, and exceptional in all the ways for what you'd want from an anti-material rifle. Cannot recommend it enough. Absolutely love this thing. That brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay tuned for what we got going next. And of course, final thing for you guys would be a little bit of dad advice. A little bit of dad advice is try something new at least once a week. You never know what you're gonna find that could change your life a little bit. Give it a shot. Final thing, guys, Patreon. If you want to support us directly, the Patreon directly supports all of our terrible science ideas like shooting a Glock underwater or blowing up a dummy or something stupid like that. So get in there. Also, if you support it at the main level, then you get to play some video games. Every week we have game night. Mostly we played Battlefield 6. We played Modern Warfare 2 the other day.
That was really fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. But me and Sawyer are really bad, so you're gonna just watch us get killed over and over and over. And you might be killing us over and over and over. I don't know if you need that in your life for therapy, but you know, do what you need. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you later.